for once a media outlet is actually praising the Tennessee Titans. Yeah, they got some good news from ESPN after the worldwide leader of sports graded every single team's offseason, and they gave a good grade to the Tennessee Titans. So I'll ask you guys, what is your favorite Titans move of the offseason? And you can go out there and say, yeah, they drafted Cam Ward, but kind of I want to see about a signing. Did you like the Dan Moore Jr. signing? Did you like the Van Jefferson signing? Go down in the comments right now. And we are also 150 subs away from 11,000. So if the Titans Nation could tighten up and hit that subscribe button, that'd be greatly appreciated. So we got some respect. No, not disrespect. We haven't seen disrespect in a while, but we're actually getting some praise. ESPN, they claim the Titans had one of the best off seasons by grading them with a B+. I thought before we kind of gotten started, I wanted to go over just every single one of ESPN's free or off-season grades throughout the entire off-season, or actually, I'll start with the free agent additions that the Titans had, because we're talking about the Titans here. We're not talking about the NFL. So they signed Dan Moore Jr., Kevin Zeitler, Tyler Lockett, Cody Barton, Draymond Jones, Xavier Woods. You also signed Van Jefferson. That's another signing, but I could only fit 6 on there. Then you have your draft picks. Cam Ward, Alec Manor, Chamiri DK, Kevin Winston Jr., who I think is going to be an absolute steal. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, just a huge human being in Femi Oladejo, and Gunnar Helm at tight end, which he could possibly take over for tight end over Okonkwo. But for me personally, I think this was a good grade. Let's just go over some of the grades that ESPN had. Here's the A grades. And the Rams an A, I mean, I guess. The Cardinals, I don't really understand. I don't know what they did in particular to get better. 49ers A minus. Broncos A minus. They're still getting better. They're going to be a contender in the AFC West. The B grades, that's where the majority of the NFL is. You have the Baltimore Ravens. You see the Tennessee Titans right there. The Bills, Eagles, Browns, I mean, I guess. Buccaneers, Texans, Jets, Raiders. The Colts getting a B, which I think is hilarious when their biggest signing was just Daniel Jones. He's going to be their starting quarterback in my eyes, which that's a good thing for the Titans in the AFC South. Then you have the Giants, Chargers, Bears, Lions, Seahawks, Dolphins, Chiefs rounding out the B grades. You get down to the C's, and this is where you kind of see some teams that were playoff teams like the Minnesota Vikings, Cincinnati Bengals, Commanders getting a C. I think their team is improved. I mean, you get Laramie Tunsil to help out that offensive line. The Jaguars, Steelers, Panthers, Cowboys, and the Falcons. And then the final team, I'm not even going to talk about it. The Saints were terrible. They were getting a D in the ESPN grades. I think they're probably going to be the worst team in the NFL. What they said a move that ESPN said a move that they liked more than anything. I mean, are we surprised? It's the Titans drafting Cam Ward. You get your franchise quarterback. You get the guy that's going to lead your team for the next how many ever years. So I just have one word to say about this. I mean, duh. Like, can you get any better than having the first pick in the NFL draft, drafting your franchise quarterback, getting that guy that's going to bring your team from the worst team in the NFL and taking them to the promised land, which I think Cam Ward could do. We saw it at Miami. The Titans now finally, you don't have Will Levis anymore. You're not going with Mason Rudolph. You have a franchise quarterback in Cam Ward. And we haven't talked about just the stats that he has put up in college because we have seen what Cam Ward has done in OTAs. But I'll just like to reiterate throughout the last couple of weeks, we have not talked about it at all. I mean, 67.2 completion percentage at Miami, 4,300 yards, 43 total touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. Washington State, every single place that he's gone, he has looked like a great quarterback, and you can just see him constantly getting better and better and better. And then we get to minicamp, and we get to OTAs. And there's one specific practice where I just want to point out. All of Titans fans know about this. June 10th, where he threw an interception on his third pass. Well, then he completed 18 straight passes, 14 for 14 in team drills, finished the day 20 of 21. hot start for Cam Ward, showing, yeah, I'm the reason. That is why you drafted me. That is why I'm now your franchise quarterback. This is what Seth Walder had to say about just the Titans on Cam Ward. The most important decision wasn't much of one at all. That's why I gave it a one-word, duh. The QB-needing Titans had the number 1 pick in the draft with one quarterback viewed substantially above the rest. The result of this offseason will swing more on Ward's performance than anything else, but it was the choices made around the rookie that involved real decisions. And that's where I kind of want to bring up just how improved this offensive line was too. Last year, it was one of the worst in the NFL. So you decided we needed a left tackle. They got a left tackle. Then you have Peter Skronsky at left guard. Lloyd Cushenberry didn't play much last year because he tore his Achilles. You get your starting center back. You go out and signed a right guard in Kevin Zeitler, who is a veteran presence on this team. He's up there in a little bit of age, but you can also, he was guarding for Jared Goff in the Lions, and we've seen how the Lions have done. And then you have J.C. Latham going back to right tackle after he played left tackle last season, and he's back to his original spot where he played at Alabama. That is what you improved. So you help out Cam Ward. You help him out so he's not scrambling out there for his life. You also got a couple of wide receivers. You have Chimere Dike, Elike Manor. You got Xavier Restrepo, his best friend and his best target. So you just put guys around him to give him the best possible situation in his very first year. Like for me, I would probably, I'm going to give this a B+. Like, you could see the wide receiver room. Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, you put him in the best spot. And I'll be honest, Will Levis wasn't put in the best spot. And that's probably why he struggled. He was high on my draft board a couple years ago. I thought the Colts should draft him at number 4, but they went and drafted Anthony Richardson. I'm giving the Titans a B+. I'm not going to give it an A+ because they were the worst team in the NFL. If you're going from a F from what you were last year to an A+, I would expect you to be a contender. And I don't think the Titans are going to be a contender yet, but they do have a possibility to compete for that 7th seed or maybe even go worst to first because the AFC South is not that great. So they have a chance to compete with the Houston Texans because they're going to beat the Jags. They're going to beat the Colts. I just have no doubt about that. What would you guys grade the Tennessee Titans offseason? Are you like ESPN and me where you give it a B+, or would you want to go better? Do you think it's an A? Do you think it's a C, D, or those outlandish people out there, do you think this is an F? Now, there's good and there's the bad. And there was one move that ESPN didn't like, and we will get into that later in the show. But first, I got to tell you guys about this deal. And Titans hoodies, they're over 60% off. I know it's the summer, but you still wear hoodies all the time. If it's freezing inside, you're going to put on a hoodie. And guess what? If you have it now, you're going to have it once the season starts. So go get your hoodie. Rep the Titans now. Chatsports.com/Titans hoodie. This one right here, $29.99. If you go to this link, you can see a whole bunch more. There's one hoodie that I saw that I really like. It's on sale. It is a Tennessee Titans Bud Light hoodie. So go get yours today. We'll have that in the comments and description of today's video. One more time, chatsports.com/Titans hoodie. So the one move that they didn't like, and when the Titans signed this guy, you can go back and watch the video that I made on Draymond Jones, and it was that they really didn't like this signing. It was they signed him to a 1-year, $10 million contract, which the Titans still have $30 million in cap space, so I don't mind this move whatsoever. Yeah, he didn't have the greatest 2024, but he was also just not playing in his right position. When he was with Denver a couple years ago, he was one of the best defensive linemen in football. He was around just putting up productive numbers. When he was with Seattle, different story. This is what Seth Walder had to say about Draymond Jones. He said he didn't like the 1-year, $10 million deal. That's a steal, in my opinion, and it's 1 year. Low risk, high reward. He doesn't play well. You can see him in free agency next year. It's a substantial pay cut from his previous contract with Seahawks, but for good reason. Never lived up to that deal. With more seasons of data, Jones's 2022 contract season with Denver seems to be an outlier. I said it. I liked the signing. You needed some edge rushers. You needed some depth on that defensive line because all you had was Sebastian Joseph Day, and you ended up cutting Harold Landry to save cap space. So you replaced Harold Landry with Draymond Jones. And Draymond Jones, when he was playing with Seattle, he wasn't playing his right position. He was playing completely outside. when he was with Denver, he was playing on the inside. He was considered a defensive tackle, playing out of position, wasn't in that right system. And I think the Titans saw that and was like, yeah, we could kind of fix that and get this in the right spot. We can make him a lot better. We could show him what it's going to be. Like, I'll just read off some of his stats here from his 2022 season. If Moose, you could just bring up the stats so I could just read them off. He was a solid player when he was with Denver. I mean, 6.5 sacks, 47 tackles, 9 tackles for losses. Like, he was a good player. And then 5.5 sacks in 2021. I feel like with him, he would be a solid player for the Tennessee Titans because their edge rushers, I mean, you drafted Femi Oladejo, but he is a project. And he's also a veteran leadership for Femi. He can teach him a lot of things to get him ready for next season because Femi, he also was playing out of position. He only played 1 year at the edge. So with Draymond Jones, you have your option. He played in Seattle, where he was the outside. He was in Denver. He was playing inside. He could be both, whatever the Titans like, because they now have depth at each position, so it helps them. And it's only a $10 million contract. So what do you have to lose? I don't know why they didn't like that. And ESPN, they forgot one big move that is bigger than every single one of them. They didn't even mention it once in the article. And I'm like, what are we doing? It's this guy right here, Mike Borgonzi. They signed him. They hired him to be the general manager. If it wasn't for Mike Borgonzi coming over from Kansas City, who knows? They might have went in a dumb decision. They might have not drafted Cam Ward. They might have not signed any of these people. They might have not gave Dan Moore Jr. this contract. They might have not drafted Femi. Mike Borgonzi has a plan in place with Brian Callahan. That's your biggest move of the offseason, and that's the biggest win of this offseason, coming from a team that's starting their own dynasty in Kansas City, stealing him over from the assistant general manager position, making him your GM, and saying, I trust him. Put everything to Mike Borgonzi. He made all of this happen, and ESPN didn't mention it throughout their article once, which I think is absolutely outrageous. Do you guys believe in Mike Borgonzi? The offseason doesn't happen without him, people. They gave it a B+, and it's all because of him, and it's in his first year. So go down in the comment section, type Y for yes, or type N for no. That's going to do it for the latest episode of Titans Today by Chat Sports. Don't forget to subscribe. We are 150 subs away. We'll have you covered all throughout training camp, which starts in 2 weeks, people. So make sure you hit that sub button. And as always, tighten up.